Ladies and gentlemen, we are hearing a lot of very contradictory news these days talking about yes, home prices are going down, home prices are going up. We're seeing interest rates are going down, interest rates are going up, and all kinds of predictions. And we are going to try to dig into this to find out what the real answers are for your properties, what is happening to those prices. Now, let's dig in without further ado. See, here is one of the articles we're talking about. In the Toronto Star, for example, in Canada, home price index sees record drop, even worse than the financial crisis. Sounds very clickbaity, right? And TerraNet, everyone knows TerraNet, National Bank House Price Index fell by 6.9% over 1 year. Guys, 6.9% is bupkis, okay? When we're dealing with worldwide events like we're hearing today, 6.9% is nothing. So what are they talking about? This is the worst that they've ever seen in history, really bad. So here is about Canadian. A measure of Canadian home prices saw year over year decline, even worse than the previous record drop during 2008. Well, it all depends how you look at it. So we're going to be looking at the house price index. Now, here are some comments. I think that both sides, buyers and sellers, are on the sidelines right now looking at where interest rates will go. Now, I cannot agree more with that statement because number one, every seller that I know has been for a year been telling people, I'm going to wait and see what happens. You and I know from over a year ago now, what was I telling people? Time to sell. Last summer, what was I saying? Time to sell. Last fall, when every agent is saying that it's great time, I'm telling you, time to sell. Complete opposite what everyone else has been telling you, right? Because normally, I always tell you, when you see an opinion piece that is out there, look at who's writing it and who's going to benefit from it. Because normally it's mortgage brokers, real estate agents, and they're going to always say it's the best time to buy. There will be a flood tsunami coming down the middle of the road, and they're going to be telling you it's the best time to buy, you guys. So I'm just trying to say, be careful when you're out there, okay? Now let's look on. In Toronto, the price index is down 12%. Some Oshawa down 19%. Barrie down 13%. You guys know that I have been telling people about Barrie for about 2 years now, that Barrie is uninvestable. And now look at Barrie is leading the pack among the biggest drops there are that's out there. Sometimes, you guys, things just keep playing itself over and over and over again in these markets. We could watch what's going to happen in these markets because we know that it's going to keep on happening over and over. Now, here are some opinions. It should pick up near the beginning of next year. Says one guy, it'll likely will continue to see smaller drops or even some price gains as we move forward in the year. Oh, well, that sounds like a real good answer. It's like a meteorologist saying it might be sunny or rainy or snowy this afternoon or possibly cloudy. Prices may go down or up as we go through the year. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I think it's hilarious. Okay, let's look at some real numbers. So, if you guys go to the Canadian Real Estate Association, they got a tool called the HPI tool. Now, this HPI tool talks to you about prices in the area. Now, notice the dates 2005 all the way to 2023. I know there's a lot of different lines here, but what you could do is drag your mouse on it, and it's going to be giving you different areas: Niagara Falls, Winnipeg. This is all different areas around Canada, okay? And it's going to show you the prices going up and going down. What you can notice in this, okay, since 2008, if we just look at this section right here, you notice that it's all pretty tight. As soon as we get through the great financial crisis, what starts to happen? We then start seeing all this white area here where it start diverging. So we're seeing these gaps in the HPI tool from the leading cities, okay? And we're seeing a lot of speculation. As you can see, there's a lot of cities that are down below where it's very calm and steady, but we see a huge section of properties that actually took way like crazy numbers. Okay, so let's zoom out here and let's take a look at this if we're going to dial it in, okay? We're only going to look from like 2019 to today. We're going to try to look at the cities, and maybe this will give us a little bit more information. So the properties are at the top. If we look here, where's this one? Oakville. We now saw that Oakville is very, very high on the list, losing like 16% over a year, which we could see this big, big, big drop. Look at that. It dropped from 1.6, yes, last spring. But all of these other areas also are higher. Now, where I'm trying to tell you, the ones that are the steadiest are the ones near the bottom, right? And we're not going to be surprised about it. Certain parts of Quebec, we saw Newfoundland, Northern Ontario, Fredericton, Saskatchewan, steady, steady, steady markets that only have structural inflation and not demand inflation like the top markets. Okay, now let's dig into the backside of realtor.ca. I'm showing you what actual realtors and brokers can log into and see some of this information. This you have access to if you are a broker in Ontario, and this one is for Toronto specifically. But normally what we're looking for are properties over 10,000 freehold. So we divide our properties into freehold and available or unavailable. So notice here it's homes that are available for sale. Okay, we're being very, very strict here. And notice this square right here says GTA. So I want everything. So in the entire Greater Toronto area, there's 5,745 properties that are for sale today. Now, I can look at this anytime, any single year. If it is over 10,000, you now are kind of like going to run a balanced market. Now that there's so many more people even, it might be 12,000 now. But when you're under that, we're vastly, vastly, vastly low on the number of properties that we want. This is very, very low supply. So what are we noticing today? What I'm noticing today is almost everybody who is selling a property either has a death in the family or a divorce or something funky is happening in their life where they have to buy or sell. Imagine that you were a set of parents and you had twins. What are you going to do? You got to move, right? And so we're seeing that. But imagine that those people who used to have a small one-bedroom condo have twins. That same guy, he would normally upgrade his property, but now he's got to get rid of a mortgage that he had 2% on and assume a mortgage on a bigger house at 6%. He now has like triple the payment. He can't afford that, so he's not going to move. The reverse, imagine you had downsizers. You had parents, 2, 3 kids. They all moved out now. They have a big house. And they said, you know what, David, I'm ready to sell my big house and I'm going to move into a small house. We saw some of your videos and said, time to sell. And you said, we'll do it. And we're going to look into it. I would tell you not to do that because the most valuable thing you got is that mortgage. So imagine you had a $1.5 million home with a 2% mortgage. You're going to pay less than the prices are today with a 6% mortgage. So these guys are not going to do that. They're going to be stuck in place. And we call that the real estate poison pill because they cannot leave. The most valuable thing is not just the asset, it's the value of their mortgage. And so this is going to be continuing. We're going to be seeing this massive shortage, and this is going to continue on and on. Now, if we look at Toronto prices here, do you notice that this is only 12 months? Let's back it up a little bit farther so you can get some more information. So in the past 2 years, we see that properties were peaking out. This is an average, guys, condos and homes, everything all together. 1.2 million, almost 1.3. Now, as those interest rates went up and up and up, what happened? Prices falling, falling, falling. This is the same time that every realtor on the planet is saying it's still a good time to buy, still a good time to buy. Right? Down, down, down. What happened around the beginning of the year? Why are prices going up? Now, prices are amazing, 980,000 up to $1 million. So now all of a sudden we have a lot more money that is coming out. People are happy, right? So now comes all of the news articles that we're hearing today. Prices are up. Prices are up. This is the best time. We're through all the garbage. But remember, how did all the prices across the country go down? How did they all go down? Well, it all comes down to interest rates. If you watch what happens with our interest rates, you could see that interest rates have been falling since the beginning of the year. And as interest rates fall, home prices go up. That's just how it works. So this has been doing very, very, very good for people. So if we see January here, prices are going up because mortgage rates are falling down. Then comes the other question. But David, mortgage rates are not coming down. Everything that I'm reading says the central banks, Bank of Canada, the Federal Reserve of the United States, are not changing rates. And this is what I always try to tell you. You're paying 2 mortgage rates. The first rate is the Bank of Canada rate. The second portion is the amount of commission that the banks want to charge. And since all these Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, all those banks in the United States went under, they are now scared and they're willing to take a smaller commission. Now it allows people to buy more. Straight up, baby. So if you were sitting on a problem property, especially, imagine that you had a leaky oil tank in the backyard, or you needed a new roof, or you're by a power line, or you're on a busy intersection where you can't really use the front yard, or it's very loud, or something like that. People, there's a massive shortage, and now all of a sudden people can afford more because the mortgage rates went down. So people are blowing their brains out and they're lining up down the road in order to put offers. We're seeing the same games as we did last year. Let me show you. All right. So as you can see, prices are going up, right? Woo. Okay. Well, that's not so good. Now let's look on how long is it taking for properties to sell. All of a sudden, just since the beginning of the year, 30 days on market it was taken. This is all of my area, all the way down to 20 days. This is across the country, but I'm just showing you a slice of it, that properties are selling way faster than they have been recently. Also, how are people pricing their properties? Did you notice that last year people were like going crazy? 118% of asking price. That means if a property was $1 million, people were offering $1,180,000. Then it went way below. People were actually expecting a discount. Where are we now again? People are starting to list their properties way below again. These are the games that I wish was illegal, you guys. I can't stand this. So we have all the time properties that are being listed online for $700,000. And then when you phone the agent to book a showing, they're like, don't even come unless you want to offer $1 million. So why are you listing it for 700? I mean, it's so deceptive to the other agents, to the public that is looking at it, other clients that are looking at it. And then you'll have 40 offers putting in on that property because they have a belief that they can get it at that price. And so, as much as we would try to counsel them and try and tell them, guys, they're doing this deliberately, people are putting their entire life savings on it. So they can only rely on their real estate agents or brokers' opinions so much because they're like, my guy is telling me to pay $300,000 over. And it's very, very easy for one of them just to say, well, they just want the commission, right? So the best tool that you can get is for you to get the knowledge yourself so that you know the value of the homes. And hopefully you're going to be able to see through the dishonesty that is out there. So this is what you got to know is where we are today. It all stems from the interest rates. And those interest rates have been actually going down this year to date. As the interest rates go down, that actually pushes prices up. And as they go up, people are willing to pay over market now again, and things are selling way faster. Now, you're going to say, my next portion of that is going to say, well, David, that's just Toronto. So I study charts all day, every day. This is what we do. We sell properties. So we're also looking in Vancouver and Halifax and Alberta, Saskatchewan. I'm looking all over the place, and they're generally all following the same pattern, albeit to different extents. If I can refer you back to what I was showing you with the different cities, there is a pattern. If we actually zoom in just where it has been maybe since last year, we can see that they're all following the same pattern down, but there's a couple that are a little bit more. This one at the top is Oakville. So they're following the same pattern. Realize that they're all following the interest rate that is nationally set. So how is that really affecting people? So let's go and take a look at what a loan is. For example, I did just a couple different math numbers for you. Notice here, I did a $1.5 million home, which was the average last year in many areas at 2% financing. We locked in a lot of our rates at 2% and 25-year amortization. Your monthly payment is $6,357. So 1.5 million at 2%, $6,000 a month in payments. Now, where are we this year? This year, we're sitting at 1.2 million because prices have really gone up in the past couple months. So 1.2 million at a 6% interest rate over 25 years. Now your payment is $7,700. Woo, you're getting really close to $8,000 now, whereas before you're paying $6,300, right? There's a big difference. And where do people come up with that money is my question, because nobody's getting a raise these days. Everyone is like, you got to be thankful that you still have a job. Here comes the real big kick in the can, I think. Notice below when we're looking at total interest. So I'm just looking up a regular mortgage calculator I pulled up online. So in first case scenario, you had a $1.5 million home and the bank wanted to make $407,000 of interest, total interest over the life of that loan. $400,000. You're buying a $1.5 million home. Please understand this. $1.5 million home, $400,000 interest. In the second scenario, at 6% interest, look at this. $1.2 million purchase, and they want $1,119,000 of interest. Are you shocked by this just as much as I am? They want $700,000 more in interest for the same property. You pay 1.2 for the home and you're going to have to pay 1.1 in interest. Are we on the same page here? That's insane. That's $700,000 more. Please look at this again. This is really important. $1.5 million home last year, $400,000 of interest. $1.2 million home here, $1.1 million of interest. So where does that $700,000 come up? And I'm asking you, how long would it take you and your family to save $700,000 just to be able to give to the government? So when people say that their home is their best investment, I disagree. It really depends what the government is going to do with those rates. Please watch the rates. The rates dictate everything. This is my solemn belief for everybody. Now, the other question that always comes to me is, should I buy real estate? That's like saying, is food good? It depends on the kind of food. Are all, men nice? No. All are women nice? Not really. I don't know. That's a very blank statement. So this is what I want to tell you. We have to get really down to the details. Okay. So when we look at a city, let's pull one out. It could be New York, could be Toronto, San Francisco. Doesn't matter. You can have commercial real estate. You can have residential real estate. You can have multiplexes. You can have storage lockers. You can have restaurants that you put a McDonald's into. I guess they own their stuff. So Subway, you can put a unit into there. There is a million types of real estate that is available out there. And here's what I could tell you. Not all stocks drop at the same time. Some go up, some go down. Same thing with real estate. We have property that is going down. We have property that is going up. Today, we could look at some of the areas that were vastly inflated, that where homes are down 40%, particularly like cottage countries across Canada and United States, where people are desperate. They're selling the things that they have. Or the super uber large homes, those are losing a lot of money. But your bread and butter properties that are the 2-bed, 2-bath condos near transit in the main city, or if you're in places that didn't have the massive, huge run up that it had in 2020, 21, 22, if you didn't have that, they're likely not going to drop as far either. So there is a lot of property out there today that is still an amazing deal for you to get into. So my thing is, I want you to always expand your mind. Number one thing I hear from people who are thinking about buying properties, they say, it has to be a couple blocks from my house. That's probably your biggest mistake. It could be in the same city. If you're thinking same city, maybe you got to think within a couple hours, like drivability. If you've already mastered that, maybe you got to think in your own province or state, maybe across the country, on the other side of the country. Once you start expanding your scope, the world of possibilities opens up, and there's some amazing, amazing deals out there all the time. I'm looking at properties all the time. What I try to do is look at a bunch of properties when I'm doing it, and I can do so by looking at about 50 to 100 properties at a time. And so you could do that by jumping onto certain calculators. We have a calculator that we use all the time. If it is something that you want, you can obviously leave a message about it. So let's take a look at this. We're going to run an example really, really quick on this, and I'll show you how I actually look at properties. And I'm looking at properties normally at about 100 at a time. Let's just say, for example, here, we have a property. I'm going to show you how fast. $500,000, for example, say that it rents for $4,500 per month. Taxes on something like that, maybe about $4,000. Insurance, maybe $150 per month. I'm going to be very, very, very lazy here. I'm going to say I want property management to take care of everything for me. I want to make sure that I have money put aside every month for vacancy, money put aside every month for repairs. I want to make sure that I have a down payment, only minimum 20%. And my interest rate, see here, is 2% right now. I think I can get 5.7. So let's get a 5.7 on it. If we do that right there, here is the profit. Can you see this? 52% in year one. 52%. Here is the thing I want to tell you. If you can make 52% in a year, you no longer have to work. So this is what I want you to actually master. And I could do this for property after property after property, and I could look at 50 or 100 properties, bang, 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 one after another, really, really quickly. And so this calculator actually has a lot of different calculations that is in it, a couple thousand. So this is just a simple way. It has your capital cost or depreciation, your debt pay down included in here, yearly structural inflation that's in there. Don't do demand, rent growth calculators that are in here. And it has a current cash flow and cash flow using market rent. But what I try to do is I built this for our own use. Just fill in the yellow boxes here. Notice right here, fill in the yellow cells, just drop them in and get your percentages. If you can make sure that you are making high percentages, you are going to be healthy for a long, long, long time. So my advice to you is do your research. Your family could depend on it. And what I think is going to happen over the next 2 years is massive opportunity for a lot of people. And so if you can educate yourself enough, the next 2 years will dictate the next 20 years of your life. You guys, I want to help you. I think that you have a lot of great, great potential. I am super excited for what is coming in the future. I want the best for you. And if you know anybody that this could help, please think about sending it to them. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you soon.